ওকে কি করো কি মার্কার করে রাখলাম আজকে কত নাম্বার ক্লাস
6
Today we'll go through process costing. Process costing. So, whatever the different types of cost classification and methods of calculating cost we have discussed earlier, this is a slight difference from that, depend upon the criteria on which we are going to calculate the cost. See, think yourself, sugar. Suppose you are the manufacturer of sugar. Can you identify 1 unit of sugar? And you can say this is the 1 unit of sugar and the cost of manufacturing this 1 unit is $1. You cannot say that, right? So some manufacturing processes are such that you can identify 1 single unit from that, right? 1 single unit cannot be identified because of the continuous nature of processing of those kinds of products. In manufacturing, there are some other criteria as well. Number 1, output of one process become the input of the next process. That's why this is called continuous process. Output of one process become the input of next process, and every process when there is ongoing, end of the process there will be some kinds of spoilage or damages, you can say. যখনই কোনো প্রসেস শেষ হবে সেখানে there will be some kinds of losses, you can say, which is called normal losses. প্রত্যেকটা প্রসেসে কিছু পরিমাণ normal loss থাকবে, and end of the day you will have 2 different kinds of product. One is joint product and another is byproduct. As for example, if you are the businessman doing business in refining oil, right? By refining the crude oil, by refining the crude oil, you manufacture, you produce diesel, octane, etc., etc. So diesel, octane, these are the expected product that you are producing. These are joint product. We will discuss later on, but initially. And byproduct, when you refine the oil, there will be some specific amount of coal tar, which is not expected production, but unexpected production. That's why these are byproduct. So some criteria are there in the production process when the manufacturer or the business has to go through this process costing method, except the costing method we have discussed earlier. এই ক্ষেত্রে ওই মেথড বের করা যায়। তাহলে কোন কোন ক্ষেত্রে আমরা বলতেছি? First of all, individual unit cannot be identified. Production process will be a continuous process. Output of one process become the input of the next process. Then in every process there will be some kinds of normal losses, expected losses will be there. And end of the day you will have joint product as well as byproduct. So when these are the criteria, in that case we have to calculate or we have to measure the cost through process costing. Clear? Okay. Now we will discuss the way of doing process costing. For our knowing or for our betterment, we can elaborate this process costing process in 4 different stages, or you can say step. Stage 1. এখানে আমরা কি করব? আমরা একটা এক্সাম্পল নিয়ে কাজ করি, তাহলে সুবিধা হবে। এখানে জাস্ট তোমাদের বইতে একটা এক্সাম্পল নিয়ে কাজ করতেছি। দিস ইজ এক্সাম্পল 2.2। উপরটা মুছে ফেলি, হ্যাঁ। This is example according to your book, example 2.2, where we said that there is, suppose that input of a process, input 1000 units at 4500 cost, 4500 cost, then normal loss 10%, normal loss 10%, and output is 860 units. Suppose this is a process. In this process, when you are providing input of 1000 of such kind of unit, a specific, a particular kind of unit, whose total cost is 4500. That means your input cost is 4500 as well. Then there is a normal loss. Normal loss means expected loss. We have discussed in process costing, in every process or every stage there will be some expected loss, which is called normal loss. This will be provided. Normal loss is 10%. So we can measure, that is, if our input is 1000, of 1000, 10% means 100. 100 unit will be normally lost. Normal loss. This is our expected loss. End of the day, there is output is 860 unit. Now, from this process, we have to do the process costing methods. And methods of process costing are subdivided in 4 different stages, you can say. Number 1, step 1. In step 1, ভালো করে বোঝার চেষ্টা করবে step by step. Step 1. Here, stage 1, we will calculate normal loss, abnormal loss or gain. This is the stage 1. In stage 1, normal loss we have discussed earlier. This is expected loss, budgeted, or you can say expected loss. It will be provided. According to our example, normal loss is 10% of the input, and this normal loss always actually calculated a percentage of the total input. At the same time, we have to calculate abnormal loss or gain. So what does it mean? What is abnormal loss or gain? আমরা এখানে দেখি, here our input is 1000 of a kind of unit. From this input, our output is 860 unit. So there is some kinds of unit is lost within that process, which is called actual loss. Actual loss, how much? 140 actual loss. But according to our example, normal loss is 100 unit, 10% of 1000. So actual loss is more than that we have already expected. This is called abnormal loss. Abnormal loss. How many? 40 units. But say actual loss is, suppose 80 unit. Suppose actual loss was 80 unit. Expected was 100 unit. In that case, that will be an abnormal gain, because the loss actually occurred which is less than our expectation. So if the loss is more than our expectation, more than the expected, that is abnormal loss. If the loss is less than the expected loss, then that is abnormal gain. Clear? So in the first stage, we have to find out input, output, actual loss and normal loss, and as well as abnormal loss or gain. This is the first one, process stage. Then stage 2, or you can say step 2. Exam hall, in the exam hall, you guys will be asked some kinds of question. In that case, there is no need to write these kinds of stages. These stages actually just for memorizing. It helps you memorize the process. Then step 2. Stage 2 te will find out the cost per unit. Cost per unit, and the cost per unit will be cost incurred to expected output. Here the thing is, that means in the second phase or second stage, we calculate the cost per unit. What will be the cost per unit? Here the cost per unit means cost incurred. That means within the process, what are the different types of cost actually occurred to operate that process. According to our example, only one types of cost, input cost, is 4,500. There may be some other kinds of cost as well, conversion cost, labor cost, etc., etc. But in our example here, we are doing a little tiny example. In our example, according to our example, total cost is 4,500. So our cost incurred is 4,500. Divided by expected output. Our input is 1,000 unit, and we are expecting 10% of input, 10% of 1,000 is 100 unit will be lost. So we are expecting 900 unit will be our output. Clear? So expected output means input minus normal loss or expected loss. So according to here this example, our expected output is 900 unit. 900 unit. So what will be the cost per unit?
900 ke input থেকে normal loss.
Normal loss. That is your expected output. So your cost per unit will be how much? $5 per unit. Clear? So this is the second stage. Then in stage 4, oh sorry 3. In stage 3, in stage 3 we have to calculate total cost of output, normal loss and abnormal loss, or it may be gain. So in stage 3 you have to find out the total cost. So according to our example, cost per unit was $5 ছিল না? $5 cost per unit was $5. So in our example, output or you can say finished goods is how much? 860 unit. Then normal loss how much? Normal loss কত ছিল? 100 unit. 100 unit. In this example, our abnormal loss was there. Abnormal loss, how much? Abnormal loss ছিল 40, না? 40. These are the unit. We need to calculate the total cost of this unit. We have already calculated cost per unit. So here cost per unit will be 5 into 5. But normal loss cost will be 0. When you are calculating total cost of output, that is calculated cost per unit. Total cost of abnormal loss, calculated cost per unit দিয়ে multiply করতে হবে। But normal loss, expected loss, normal loss will be always 0 unless there will be some kinds of scrap value or disposal. That means scrap value আমরা পরবর্তীতে আলোচনা করব, we will discuss later on scrap value. If there is a portion or provision of scrap value, only then the normal loss has some specific amount of value. Otherwise, total cost of normal loss will always be 0. Clear? So we can find out the cost, and total number of units say 860 plus 100, 960 plus 40. How many? That is 1000. Our input was 1000. So we have the calculated value of that input. When you are inputting 1000 unit, Within that 1000 unit, output is 860. There will be a kind of expected loss, normal loss, which is 100, and there will be some kinds of abnormal loss, which is 40. As a whole, that should be total 1000 because it was the input. And cost will be obviously 450, 4500. Say
43.
এটা কত আসে
4300.
4300. This is 0 200. As a whole, this will be 4500. So this is the. So in exam hall, you guys will be asked the question: what will be the total cost of output? This one. What will be the total cost of normal loss? 0. What will be the total cost of abnormal loss? 200. What will be the cost per unit of output and abnormal loss? 5. What will be the cost per unit of normal loss? 0. So question may be different way, but you have to know the total process. So this is the result, total cost of things. Now stage 4. Stage 4. Step 3. হ্যাঁ কোনটা? Oh. Step 4. ব্যাকে আসলে কি তোমাদের সমস্যা, আমার তো কোনো সমস্যা নেই। আমার সমস্যা আছে, আমি আবার দেখবো এটা। Step 4. Step 4 হচ্ছে this is the last stage. Here we will create process account and another is abnormal loss or gain account. This is the end of the process costing. First, we will discuss process account. What do you mean by this? Process account. We have discussed T account, ledger account in financial accounting segment, right? So first of all, we have to build up a process account. In the left-hand side, we'll plot all kinds of input, and in the right-hand side, we'll plot all kinds of output from that. So according to our example, input was 1000 unit, which cost was 4500. Output from this, there will be some kinds of output. Output unit cost. That is, from this 1000 input, our output was 860. There is a kind of normal loss which is 100, and there is abnormal loss. How much? 40. Cost per unit, it will be 5, it will be 0, it will be 5. 4300, 0200. Total unit 1000, total cost of 4500. This is called process account. Input 1000, total cost 4500. There will be some different kinds of output, finished goods, you can say finished goods, normal loss, abnormal loss or gain. Total হিসাব কিন্তু সেই 1000, total cost 4500. ঠিক আছে? This is process account. And another ধোয়ার গন্ধ আসতেছে নাকি? একটু ফ্যানটা ছেড়ে দেন, আমার দম বন্ধ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। শীতকালে একটা প্রবলেম, যে ওই সাইডে যে বস্তি থেকে রান্না করে ধোয়াটা সবাই দিয়ে আসে, বাতাস। একটু ফ্যানটা ছেড়ে চলুন। And another is that we have to discuss, that is, in our example, abnormal loss was there, right? So we have to create abnormal loss account. Abnormal loss account. Loss, any kind of loss is a kind of expense for the business, an expense incurred in, let me say, right? So abnormal loss, it's a kind of loss. Expense, so it should be debit entry. Debit entry, a loss টা কোথেকে উঠছে? It's a kind of process costing. That's why there is then a process account. Process account. আমাদের কত ছিল abnormal loss? 40 unit, $200 ছিল। 200. And loss and gain. কি করতে হয়? We have to write off the loss and gain with income statement because it should be charged in the income statement. So process account is so CI income statement 200. There is no CDB. Here, this is the case of abnormal loss. If this is the case of abnormal gain, gain is a kind of income. So abnormal gain process account will be in the credit side and debit side it will be write off through income statement. Clear? এই ডিসকাশনগুলা বইতে পাবেন না। বইতে খালি অঙ্ক করে দেওয়া আছে। ডিসকাশনগুলো এখান থেকে এই জন্য বলি যে ভিডিওটা ভালো করে ফলো। বোঝা গেছে? So this is all about the abnormal loss and gain. And এটা একটা এক্সাম্পল ছিল। আমরা আরেকটা এক্সাম্পল দেখি বইতে যেভাবে দেওয়া আছে। Another বইতে another example that is what's it alone? Another example, output is 920 unit, 920 units. So what will be the result in this case? What will be the result when your output is 920 units? So step one, that means we have to find out input output abnormal loss gain. Input 1000, output here output is 920. So actual loss is what? 80. Normal loss is 100 unit. So here abnormal gain actually comes from, right? So abnormal gain, how much? 20. Clear? ঠান্ডা লাগতেছে? বন্ধ করে দাও, আমার ভয়েসটা অফ করে দিও। এখন একবার একটু অফ করে দাও। Once upon a time I was chain smoker. Each and every day I finished at least 4 packets when I was in job. But after my child, Arush যখন হয়েছে after birth of my child, I just leave my habit, bad habit actually. তারপর থেকে ধোয়া সহ্য করতে পারি না। আজব না, আমার তো ধোয়া সহ্য করতে পারার কথা বেশি। আমি আমার দম বন্ধ হয়ে যায়, সাপোকে ইভেন আশেপাশে কেউ সিগারেট খেলে এই প্রবলেমটা ক্রিয়েট হয়। ওকে, এখানে আরো মজার ব্যাপার, আমার এই সব অসুস্থতা কিন্তু তারপর থেকে, আগে না। সিগারেট খাওয়া ছেড়ে দিচ্ছি, সুস্থ হয়ে যাওয়ার কথা, সিগারেট খাওয়া ছাড়ার পরে সব অসুস্থতা, মোটা হয়ে যাওয়া, চুল পড়ে যাওয়া, তারপরে যে কি বলে রিমেটিক ফিভার, আর্থ্রাইটিস, যেটা এটা ধরা পড়ছে,
সাইড ইফেক্ট স্যার।
ওকে, যাই হোক, এখানে আসো। দেন কস্ট পার ইউনিট, cost per unit. Cost per unit will be the total cost incurred, just like the 4,500, and the expected output here is obviously expected output is input minus normal loss, that is 900 unit, just like the previous one 5. Now আমরা একবারে প্রসেস অ্যাকাউন্টটা করে দেখাই, কারণ অন্যগুলো সব প্রসেস অ্যাকাউন্টটা কি হবে? প্রসেস account. Here the process account input is your 1000 of a kind of unit, which cost is 4500, and here output was 920, then normal loss, normal loss is 100, and the thing is, see, 920 plus 100 is how much? 1020. Input is 1000. Clear? So when there is abnormal gain should be recorded here. The abnormal gain, how another gain কত ছিল abnormal gain? 20.
100 থেকে 80 বিয়োগ হলো
20 unit, and cost of 20 unit will be 5 into 5, that means how much? 100, that is 400, and here 1020 unit. Here 9020 unit will be calculated by multiplying cost per 5, and normal loss is 0. 1020, and here cost will be obviously 4600. Only because of abnormal gain, cost was 4500, but here we are discussing 4600 because of the gain. Clear? This is the process account, and process account and abnormal gain account. Abnormal gain is a kind of income, profit, right? Profit is a kind of income. So income we recorded in the credit side. So process account 100, it should be write off for this period, that is SOCI 100. Clear? So this is the normal scenario of process costing. Now we will add a provision of okay, then we'll discuss provision of scrap. What is the scrap value? What do you mean by scrap, or maybe the residual value? Residual value means, in every cases, your old machine or kind of previously purchased stock can be sold at some lump sum value end of the period, which is called residual or scrap value. So scrap value is a kind of income for the business. Suppose for a project you purchased 200 kg of a kind of goods. Within the project you used 150 kg. 50 kg is your stock, closing stock still. So that 50 kg can be sold out with some lump sum amount. Clear? That is called scrap value. So now we will discuss process costing with the provision of scrap value. আগেই বলে দিই চেঞ্জটা কোথায় আসবে, where the provision actually is activated. When we calculate the cost per unit, খেয়াল করে দেখেন, cost per unit was total cost incurred divided by expected output. ছিল না এটা? Total cost incurred divided by output. But if there is a provision of scrap value, that means your normal loss, your expected loss that you can expect the end of the lifetime or end of the project, you can scrap that amount and have some income. So scrap value lower your total cost. That's why in the case of calculating cost per unit, the formula will be total cost incurred divided by total cost incurred minus scrap value of the normal loss divided by expected output. এখানে একটা চেঞ্জ আসবে। আরেকটা চেঞ্জ কোথায় আসবে? In the case of process account, when you are calculating the process account, then initially normal loss was 0. Initially when we find out the process account, then normal loss was charged $0. But here normal loss has a scrap value. So these are the two different position or situation where some kinds of changes will be there. In the case of calculating cost per unit and valuing the normal loss. Clear? Cost per unit change কি আসবে? Total cost incurred minus scrap of the normal loss divided by expected, and process account normal loss will not be zero. Normal loss will be valued at scrap. So আমরা একটা एग्जांपल নিয়ে আলোচনা করি, আমাদের বইতে দেয়া আছে। আমি এখন থেকে যেগুলো আছে সব তোমাদের বইয়ের যে एग्जांपलগুলো আছে ওখান থেকে বলে দিই। বুঝা গেছে? এখানে দেখো একটা एग्जांपल দেয়া আছে, স্ক্র্যাপ কই, লস এন্ড গেইন, লস এন্ড গেইন 225 পেজ 225 এ না, এগুলো তো এখানে তো নেই, স্ক্র্যাপ নেই, স্ক্র্যাপ আছে স্ক্র্যাপ ভ্যালু অঙ্ক কই, এই যে পাওয়া গেছে স্ক্র্যাপ। স্ক্র্যাপ ইজ স্ক্র্যাপ পাওয়া গেছে। এখানে আমি একটা অঙ্ক বড় করে দেয়া আছে, দুইটা প্রসেস দেয়া আছে, আমি একটা প্রসেস নিয়ে করি। সাপোজ ইনপুট was 18,000, then output was 60,000. Normal loss was 10%, and an extra option, that is the scrap value of per unit is $3. Scrap per unit $3. See, in the previous example we have discussed, only difference is this line, scrap is there. In previous example there is no scrap, but here there is a kind of scrap. And input and cost there are say cost there are say how much? That is 5400, and there is another labor cost, and labor cost is 32400. So this is the example. That means here we are discussing an example with the provision of scrap. Scrap যখন দেয়া থাকে তখন ব্যাপারটা কি হবে খেয়াল করো। Stage 1 আমাদের কাজ কি ছিল? That is, we have to find out, or we have to calculate input, output, normal loss and abnormal loss rate. So according to our example, input is 18,000. Output is 16,000. So actual loss is how much? 2,000. Normal loss 10% of input, that means 1800. So the fact is, in comparison to the expectation, actual is more. So abnormal loss is how much? 200. So this is the case. Then step 2, or you can say step 2. Step 2, we have to calculate the cost per unit. Cost per unit will be total cost incurred, but as there is a provision of scrap, that's why we have to deduct the scrap of the normal losses, because normal loss scrap is a kind of income, it will lower your total cost. টোটাল যে কস্টটা হবে সেটা থেকে স্ক্র্যাপটা বাদ দিতে হয় নরমাল লসে, কারণ অতটুকু তোমার ইনকাম কস্ট কমাই দিচ্ছে। সো আওয়ার নরমাল কেস ইজ টোটাল কস্ট ইনকার্ড 5400 material purpose, and labor purpose 32400 minus scrap of the normal loss. Normal loss how much? According to our example, normal loss was 1800 and scrap is free. Divide by expected output. What will be our expected output? Input 18,000 minus normal loss. Normal loss is 1800. Difference বুঝা গেছে? তাহলে এটা কস্ট পার ইউনিট কত আসে? কস্ট পার ইউনিট বের করছেন? কত আসে?
2
কস্ট পার ইউনিট টোটাল আসে 5 আসে না? দেখো
2 আসে
2 দেখেন আমি তো ক্যালকুলেট করব
2 আসে
পুরা ক্যালকুলেট করে
ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল কোর্স
3 then labor and overhead 32,400 2 আর টোটাল আসবে হচ্ছে 5 দেখি তোমার কাছে দাও কি করছো 18,000 minus 1800 16,200 এটা মনে রাখো 16,200 আর উপরে আসে 1800 into 3
স্যার
5400
মানে একটা শূন্য কম হয়ে গেছে 54,000 হচ্ছে
54,000
এখানে কত আছে টোটাল কস্ট কত দেয়া আছে ও এটা দেয়া আছে 54,000 রাইট
স্যার একটা
54,000 সরি বোর্ডে তো বড় খেয়াল করা যায় না তাহলে কত আসে 5 আসবে না 5 আসবে 5 কস্ট পার ইউনিট ইজ 5 ক্লিয়ার এটা জাস্ট ক্যালকুলেশন খাতায় আপনারা নিজেরা ক্যালকুলেট করবেন সো টোটাল কস্ট পার ইউনিট ইজ 5 ডিফারেন্সটা বোঝা গেছে কোথায় স্ক্র্যাপ অফ দ্য নরমাল লস শুড বি ডিডাক্টেড বিকজ it's a kind of income so it will lower your cost then আমরা একবারে প্রসেস অ্যাকাউন্টটা করি প্রসেস অ্যাকাউন্ট what was our input here is 18,000 unit whose cost was 5400 and there is another types of cost labor was 32400 so as a whole total unit will be 18,000 and total cost what হয় এটা
324 86,400
86,400 so according to input we are inputting 18,000 unit of a kinds of things and the cost is 86,400 then output will be how much output was there that is 60,000 then normal loss how much normal loss is there normal loss কত ছিল 10% of 800 that is 1800 then আমাদের abnormal loss ছিল কত ছিল মনে আছে 200 abnormal loss
200
abnormal loss 200 যোগ করে দেখেন এটা 18,000 হওয়ার কথা হচ্ছে তাহলে ঠিক আছে then cost per unit আমরা কত বের করলাম cost per unit 5 so this will be 5 this will be 5 this will be 0 no this will be the square value and total amount will be 86,400 just like the previous one clear process account এর পরে এখানে আমাদের কি ছিল abnormal loss so abnormal loss is a kind of expense how much abnormal loss কত ছিল
8 3.
না সেটা তো নরমাল লস
Or
আর অ্যাবনর্মাল লস কত ছিল আমাদের অ্যাবনর্মাল লস 200 into 5 কত হয় 1000 so abnormal loss process account 1000 SOCI 1000 ক্লিয়ার এখন এটা বোঝা গেছে মুছে ফেলবো ও এখানে সরি স্যার যেটা লিখবো বলতে ভুলে গেছি অ্যাবনর্মাল লস অ্যাকাউন্ট ছিল না এটা তো স্ক্র্যাপ ছিল আমার খেয়াল ছিল abnormal loss first of all process account process account কত ছিল 1000 এটা 1000 না 1000 process account 1000 clear so normally we write off this with SOCI income statement SOCI but the fact is here are some kinds of income that is by selling the normal loss or normal loss as a scrap value. So that is a kind of income. That amount of income should be deducted from this. যে কারণে এটা কি হয়ে যাবে SOCI normal loss কত ছিল how much normal loss was 8000 এটা কি 200 ছিল abnormal loss 200 total
Sir, normal loss to 200.
abnormal loss 200 ছিল
200 হ্যাঁ then oh sorry আমরা ক্যালকুলেট করছি কি abnormal loss 200 the total amount is 1000 process account then we have to write off this total process account by SOCI normally এটা but there is a provision of a scrap that means we can sell our losses amount either normal loss or abnormal loss with a scrap তাহলে abnormal loss 200 সেটা আমরা স্ক্র্যাপে বিক্রি করতে পারি that is how much 200 into 3 600 will be write off within this 1000 600 will be write off as a kind of income and remaining how much 400 will be SOCI this is abnormal loss বোঝা গেছে শুধু এইটুকু ডিফারেন্সটা আসছে in the case of a scrap by selling the abnormal loss there will be kind of income so that income will be deducted from the total process account clear বোঝা গেছে write off that means there is no CDP তাহলে abnormal gain পাওয়া যাবে না আমি আরো एग्जांपल দিয়ে গেলাম না আচ্ছা কত বাজে
Sir, বাজে
হ্যাঁ
10:56
ও তাহলে আর করানো যাবে না তাহলে আজকে এইটুক থাক নেক্সট ক্লাস we'll start our discussion from equivalent unit and there will be some kinds of process costing regarding joint product and byproduct as well তাহলে এইটুক কি বোঝা গেছে আজকে এইটুক ওকে দেখে ফেলবা থ্যাংক ইউ দ্যাট মিন্স তোমরা বাসায় তোমাদের দেখানো পড়া দেওয়া থাকবে পেজ নাম্বার লস উইথ ডিসপোজাল ও ডিসপোজাল কস্ট আছে তাহলে তোমরা যেটুকু করবা পেজ নাম্বার হচ্ছে আমার বইতে অ্যাকর্ডিং টু মাই বুক দ্যাট ইজ 235 একটা অঙ্ক করে দেওয়া আছে যেটা নিয়ে আমরা ডিসকাস করলাম 235 পর্যন্ত করবা ঠিক আছে নেক্সট দিন আমরা এর পরে যেটা আছে সেখান থেকে বাকিটা দেখব সো আজকে আমরা দেখলাম abnormal loss gain and scrap there is a provision of disposal cost also আমরা এটা নেক্সট ক্লাসে আলোচনা করব ওকে থ্যাংক ইউ আল্লাহ হাফেজ